Hey everybody, I'm actually preliminarily setting this up. It's actually 11:25 and I'm starting the live stream early so that I can actually insert this blog post that I wrote. Thank you for the thumbs up in it. And then, hey, how you doing? Rick Rice. Zinni Murphy. Is that like Candace Murphy? Anyway, what I'm doing, folks, is I am inserting into this blog post, into this video. Hey Barry, how are you? I'm inserting what will be a blog post that in text form answers the questions, hey, the stream is good, that you all have been answering. And then once it's installed, I'm going to read it after a significant number of you come in, which looks like it's already happening. We're at 19 and climbing. So that's something else. And hello family. Hello Mr. Ramirez. I like that. Mr. Ramirez put it succinctly. Hello family. It does feel like family, doesn't it? It certainly does. Now, ooh, they have actually altered the this is interesting. Now we've got a new end time thing. I've got to look at this because you know what? Hold on a second. Saving changes. All right, the changes are what's informing that my description is too long. Okay, so the description is too long. I think we're going to have to cut it off a little bit here. And where it says more. So that's why I'm glad I did this a little bit early. So I was under the impression it was just the right length. And it is... apparently, is it just the right length? Looks like it is. More, dot, dot, dot. Say more, dot, dot, dot. More, and click on that, and change is being saved, and change is saved. Just had to lop off the last paragraph. ML Scott, how are you? Thank you for the investment the other night, as well as others. And everything is good here. Good view on the watch page. Now, let me make sure. I've got one other thing. Kook Snipe says, can you post a link for investment? And I'm going to do it right now, Kook Snipe. Thank you for asking. You are a beautiful officer and a gentleman. You're how's this? You're a bowler. This says nothing for the fact that I'm going to beat you at some point. I may not beat you the first time we play, but I'm definitely going to beat you at some point. What I'm doing is I'm allowing for the fact that Kook Snipe, for those of you who don't watch this normally, Kook Snipe's one of our regulars and investors, Zinni62 Media investors, and we have a standing bowling challenge to come. So that is what I am, in a sense, teasing him about, I guess you could say, while I get this going. All right. So I've got some blockbuster information for you, first of all, and Kook Snipe says, even with tennis elbow, he's going to still take me down. Okay. I can't wait. All right, now, Kook Snipe has asked for the investment link, and here it is right here. Invest right there. And voila. And it appears, there it is. Okay, now, there are 30 of you watching this right now. I'm going to tweet this out real quick because I have a lot of news for you folks. I have done a lot of information gathering, some information gathering with respect to questions you've had, others questions I've had, and I want to thank the Nevada Department of Planning and the FAA for their cooperation today. They've been fantastic and given me information that I didn't believe I was going to be able to get so quickly, to be honest with you. Okay, I have to give a shout out. I have to say also, I was very tempted. Octavio is back. Octavio. Thank you for the investment, Kook Snipe. Thank you very much. Hey, he got the ball rolling. Thank you very much. And my goodness, more is needed. So thank you very much. But I will tell you that I learned a great deal today. Thank you, ML. I learned a great deal today. Now, what I'm going to do is, now that there's 29 of you here, okay, And I'm going to put this on Google Plus, and then I'm going to talk. All right. And Vegas schmegus, but you know, things are progressing. Not necessarily in a way that is entirely favorable to Raiders, but I'll tell you one thing, okay? The moral of this story that I'm about to tell you by way of reading what I wrote is always double check mainstream media, because the Las Vegas Review got it wrong. And I can understand why. They're not planning people. They're reporters, and a reporter knows how to write and ask, well, I hesitate to say ask questions, because you want somebody that's a specialist in, say, urban planning to be able to understand how to ask the right questions, right? Not only that, between the time that I read the Las Vegas Stadium Review story, which, if you remember, came out 2 hours before our show started on Wednesday night, okay? 2 hours. That's right. This morning, guess what they did? They took out the critical statements that were made about the project and only left in what the planning director said about the project. They cut the story in half and made it sound, well, as much as they could, a lot more rosy than it was projected. But that's the Las Vegas Review-Journal, the same organization that the reporter on the night of the 14th, they cut out, the reporter floated, and then wrote an article on the NDOT report that said it was going to cost $900 million in new expenditures for off-site infrastructure, transportation infrastructure. Well, after the legislature got wind of it, that thing went viral on Twitter. And then guess what the Las Vegas Review-Journal did? Yeah, they took it down. Everyone was flabbergasted. There was such a hue and cry that for the sake of saving face, the Review-Journal had to put the article back up. Yeah. That's the Las Vegas Review-Journal. Now we have Citron says, hey, Zan, send a picture of that flyer on. Okay, thank you. And in my message on Facebook, all right. Which flyer, Citron? You mean the flyer about the employment? So Octavio, once again, welcome back. I say welcome back. And thank you, Barry Lee, for sending the tweet for Forever Oakland. Can you send one also? Raider Nation. Okay, I want to get everybody in here. Everybody in here, or as much as I possibly can. But all right, here is, now that there's 34 of you in here right now, I'm going to read to you what I wrote that's also in this blog post. All right, and lawsuit flyer funding. Oh, the flyer. Okay, I'll get to that after I read this. I want to get this out of the way. Oh, by the way, I was going to say, I was Riley toying with the idea of kind of ribbing Derek Carr by saying, hey, the Atlanta Falcons' Matt Ryan was 3 of 3 in a touchdown. He's the NFL MVP, the reigning MVP. You're the NFL's highest paid player. You have to do at least that well on Saturday, Derek. That is the bar. Matt Ryan was sending you a message. Basically, he was saying, top this, all right? Now, hey, Highness, here's the news, all right? This answers the questions you've had regarding the deadline. I'm going to read what I wrote in full, so bear with me. Get your coffee and your popcorn ready. Coffee and popcorn, all right? Thank you, Barry, for the tweet, sending the tweet. On Oakland Raiders deadlines to complete Las Vegas NFL Stadium development, I'm looking down as I talk to you right here, okay? This is what I'm looking at. See that computer's in front of me. So everyone has asked me, I'm reading now, what is the final date the Oakland Raiders have to get something done, quote unquote, in the way of building a stadium on the Russell Road and Interstate 15 property purchased with the intent of building a new NFL stadium in, quote, Las Vegas. And I say it like that because it's actually in unincorporated county, okay? It's in Paradise Valley. Well, there are two basic deadlines, folks. One, to finish all agreements, in which case the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, can take over, and the one that has to be met if the stadium is to be open by the 2020 National Football League season. at first I was under the impression that the end date was April of 2018. I reported that to a number of you. And that was based on my understanding of the law regarding the stadium as it was first proposed, that the Nevada legislature's action in approving the Southern Nevada Tourism and Improvements Act on October 17th of 2016 set off the clock toward the countdown to when they have to have all these documents done and everything else, okay? And that date, okay, but that's not exactly true. And if I had held with that date, it would have been April of next year, specifically April 18th of 2018, okay? If you went from October 17th. So, but no, that's not the case at all. It's the date, the right date is the date the Clark County, Nevada commissioners met to vote to approve the ordinance that ignited the collection of the hotel tax for the stadium, the 88/100%. That date was November 17th of 2016. All right, November 17th of 2016. When they took that vote, and I believe it was 4-1, that on that day, the clock was turned on, okay, on that day. And so the SNTIA, the Southern Nevada Tourism and Infrastructure Act, reads as follows. And this is all in your text, okay, as well, right below, if you want to take a look and, read along. The SNTIA reads as follows. Section 3 point, section, come on, Zitty. Work out the cobwebs, man. Section 37.11. The Board of Directors of the Las Vegas Stadium Authority shall dissolve the Stadium Authority and wind up its affairs if the board makes any of the following determinations. C, and there are a number of different ones, but I got to the ones that really make the most, they're really the most relevant and most immediate regarding agreements, okay? C, within 18 months after the adoption of an ordinance imposing the tax required by subsection 1 of section 33 of this act, the SNTIA, the Stadium Authority has not approved and entered into a development agreement pursuant to subsection 2 of section 29 of this act. In other words, let me explain that basically simply, okay? The first condition is basically saying that if the Stadium Authority has entered into a development agreement with the Raiders, then, okay, guess what? If they haven't done it within 18 months, then it reverts to UNLV. UNLV goes, hey, I want in. All right, that's the first condition. The second one is within 18 months after the adoption of an ordinance imposing the tax required by subsection 1 of section 33 of this act, the Stadium Authority has not approved and entered into a lease agreement pursuant to subsection 3 of section 29 of this act. Now keep in mind that lease agreement, because some of you are going to say, wait a minute, the lease was signed, it's signed. Hold on a second. And then it goes to E. Yeah, CDE, all right, E. Within 18 months after the adoption of an ordinance imposing the tax required by subsection 1 of section 33 of this act, the Stadium Authority has not approved and entered into a combined development and lease agreement pursuant to subsection 4 of section 29 of this act. So basically what this says is, look, the parties have to have a development agreement done. And as you've heard or may have heard Stephen Hill say, all right, and I'm get to that. It's a good question, Joseph Jones. I'll get to that, okay? As you've heard Stephen Hill say, okay, basically he has said that the the idea of these is to basically have 13 documents done. One of them is the lease agreement, but within the 13 documents is also the development agreement. So you see how things are intertwined? In order to consider the lease agreement done, you have to do the development agreement. Okay? So as I say here in the text, read that carefully, and we see the basis for estimating the drop dead date is indeed the November 17th, 2016 date that the Clark County Board of Commissioners met and approved the hotel tax. Okay? And from that, according to the SNTIA, the NFL and the Raiders have to have the development agreement done, be it by itself or as part of the overall lease agreement. All right? The lease agreement isn't just the one document, as I've said to you. Okay? It's the 12 other agreements. Right? That includes also the University of Nevada, Las Vegas / Oakland Raiders NFL joint use agreement for the stadium, as well as the stadium financing agreement, as well as the construction labor agreement. Okay, all of those documents comprise the full lease. That's why Mr. Hill has consistently said that the first lease was signed, but it's a contingent approval because you got to get all these other agreements done. Got it? Okay. The deadline for these agreements to be done so the Las Vegas Stadium Authority can wind up its responsibilities. All right? That's right, Hennessy. And also the non-relocation agreement is part of that. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. The deadline for these agreements to be done and so the Las Vegas Stadium Authority can wind up its responsibilities is 5/16/2018, or that's Wednesday, May 16th, 2018. They didn't set a time. I don't know if it's 5 o'clock. They didn't set a time. I assume it's by the end of the day. Midnight? I don't know. The bottom line is it says Wednesday, May 18th, 2018. Why that date? It's not spelled out in the law, but it says 18 months. So what you got to do is take the date that we know about, which is the November 17th date, where the Clark County Board met to approve the hotel tax, and then go through one of those date calculators and put 18 months in it, and out comes that number. Bingo. All right? There you go. But the Oakland Raiders themselves have a more immediate deadline. And that's why I say there are two deadlines, okay? The Raiders' deadline for the completion of documents is October 1st of 2017. This year. All right? This year. That's the deadline that, according to Oakland Raiders President Mark Bodine, and again, Mr. Hill, Stephen Hill, the president of the Las Vegas Stadium Authority Board, that date is the one that they have identified. That's right. Where all agreements, including the ones we've been talking about, the development agreement, the line relocation, everything else, they have to be done if the Raiders want to even consider building their stadium in such a time that it can be open for NFL 2020, the NFL centennial year, I might add. So we've got two, excuse me for the Nixonian kind of, we've got two dates, all right? Two, okay? It's two. And so on Tuesday, the Raiders were thrown what could turn out to be, I call it a giant tree branch in the road, and that's the Paradise, Nevada Town Assembly Board voting 4-1 to approve the Raiders Stadium plan, but Clark County planning staff came with a set of added requests for the Clark County Board to make the Raiders essentially pay for off-site infrastructure development costs and that 14,000 parking spaces be ready within 1 year. Now, originally, this is where things are a little bit wrong, okay? I understood it to be that the 14,000 spaces be ready within 1 year of the opening of the stadium. That's actually wrong, okay? I got that from my quote of the Las Vegas Stadium Authority. But when I reached out to the actual planning department, what it was that there was a 1 year review process after approval. Let's say that the Clark County Board approves it next week. Well, then within 1 year, the Raiders have to get that parking situation done. It's not 1 year after the stadium opens. Oh, that's what was quoted in the newspaper. That, or rag, or whatever they call it, that is wrong. It's front loaded. In other words, Clark County Planning Department wants to make absolutely certain the Raiders have this parking thing worked out. And I've got the actual staff report, not what the person quoted. And you know, it's interesting because all the reporter had to do was ask for it. I've got it. I asked for it. I've got it. Okay? What I learned basically is that, first of all, there are a lot more requirements than what I just read to you right now, and I'll read the rest of them. All right? There are a lot more. But I'm gonna take when I say a break, I'm gonna not read the rest of this and go back and get your questions, then come back to it. All right? But let me get through this part, and then I'll come back because I know you got a lot of questions, and I want to get to make sure those are answered. Let's see here. Okay, what is true is that the Raiders are going to be asked to pay for off-site development, infrastructure development costs, and that will add a large unplanned for cost to the NFL Las Vegas Stadium. Now, what the planning department told me was that if it comes to a point where, was it put? I think it was put to me. Let me go back and look at the email real quick that I had an interesting email exchange, and I'm not gonna reveal who it was because I didn't tell them I was going to do that, and I think it's out of fairness. So I'm not going to explain it, but I will just simply say that this person was extremely helpful and extremely high placed. Let's put it that way, okay? Now, regarding our exchange, where is that? It is, here it is. I found it, all right? Yeah, it goes like this, okay? This is how the exchange went. Good afternoon, the development agreement. This is what the planning department is saying back to me, all right, in Clark County, okay? The development agreement has not been negotiated. You hear that? The development agreement has not been negotiated, and I am not sure what you mean by stipulations. And the reason why I say that is because the Las Vegas Review-Journal, and I recited to you, mentioned stipulations, all right? The answer I got back was, I'm not sure what you mean by stipulations. In discussing the stadium project with the Las Vegas Review-Journal, I noted some things as examples, but never stated that anything had been requested for the development agreement because we are not at that point yet. And then I said they sent me a link to the staff report. That link didn't work, so I asked for the actual hard copy, which I got. Thank you. So, other than land use applications, the answer goes on for the planning department, there are no stipulations for a development agreement except that they must enter into one with the county, and we are not at that point yet, okay? So none of this is set in stone yet. Now, my answer was that I said, hi, thank you for the clarification. Here's the language and link to Las Vegas Review-Journal article. Here are the words. Clark County Commissioners are expected to vote next week whether to allow the project to continue. While approval is all but certain, county staff has requested several stipulations be incorporated. That's where I got that from, right? Chief among them, that from a deconstruction plan be in place. This is how the article was worded. It was really nuts, okay? If the stadium project stops, that close to 14,000 off-site parking spaces be ready within 1 year, and that a forthcoming contract requires infrastructure upgrades wholly necessitated by the stadium be provided by the Raiders. Now that paragraph is really ugly because, for example, it said 14,000 off-site parking spaces be ready within 1 year, but it didn't say 1 year of what? It didn't mean 1 year of the stadium opening. It meant 1 year after the board approval of any development agreement. Okay? That's a huge difference. So in other words, over the year that the stadium is being, constructed, the Raiders have to have that parking issue worked out. No ifs, ands, or buts, at all. So, at all. They being Clark County planners, want to see the parking situation solved in such a way that there are 14,000 spaces by the time the stadium opens. That's the idea. Which means the Raiders really do have to find and pay for land. Okay? So, and then it went on to say a planned 30-foot wide pedestrian bridge spanning Interstate 15 to link the stadium to the strip is planned. It would be heavily used on game days, as consultants expect almost a third of all attendees will walk from hotel rooms located within a mile of the stadium. Fencing and 4-foot-high pedestrian barriers, are planned to run along Polaris Avenue and a portion of Russell Road and Hacienda Avenue, which surround the stadium. Then I provide the link. That was for me, to the planning representative. And so what I got back from the planning representative is very short. It says, as you can see in the article, I noted that in big letters, if it is determined, okay, I have attached the staff report, all right? So she's, really hedging her bets here, all right? And very careful not to give the impression, the planning representative, that this has been set in stone. But something else, too, when I actually got the staff report, I realized that basically there's more analysis that has to be done. A lot more. And I'll get to that in a second, all right? And so I wrote back, by the way, I got the staff report, and I said, my response was this: hi, as Elizabeth Montgomery would say in the TV show Bewitched, well, or she actually would say, well, actually the article is such that if your words, if it is determined, that your words, if it is determined, are 3 paragraphs below. While approval is all but certain, county staff has requested several stipulations be incorporated. Programmatically, I'm writing to her, you're asking readers to make 2 basically separate ideas together for you. I can tell you from years both in urban planning and politics and media that people just don't do that. Something you said caused the reporter to write that. That's why I encourage my clients to make their own media. A YouTube video is the best approach. So what I got back from my planning representatives was, well, technically the stipulations are related to land use approval that I forwarded in the document. So here we go, the stipulations, right? Okay, you see what I'm getting at? You see what I'm getting at? The discussion of the development agreement is paragraph 3 down. As you can see in your subject, the question you were asking is related to the development agreement. No worries. Hope the attachment helped. Oh, it certainly did. And so I wrote back, it does. I'm a pop culture junkie, so I couldn't resist. Thank you again. And then I said, hi again. Curious to know if there's a water runoff and drainage study required. Can the sewer system handle the expectant flow? I got back this. Please look at the last 2 pages of the staff report that I forwarded. Under Public Works discussions, the first condition is drainage study and compliance. And under Clark County Water Reclamation District, the only comment relates to sanitary sewer requirements. They will generally note if there is a capacity issue. And the only pop culture reference I can think of is, "Oh, have a nice evening." So she got me there, okay? I have to admit that was a lot of fun. So the one thing I'll say about the people that I've worked with and get information who represent Las Vegas, they're fun people. They're the kind of people you want to have dinner with, seriously. So, all right, now I'll get to your questions. But I will say this, however. I'll get your question, I'll read the document. The document that I recited to you has not yet been put up. I will put it up either during, if I can figure out how to do it without missing a beat, this live stream, or after. I may lean toward doing it as. Now let me get to your questions, because I went down here. We've got a good full house in here. Actually, the most we've had on a Thursday in a long time. Welcome, everyone. And so we've got, God bless everyone in the house. And Ramirez says, just so you know, no Vegas. Octavio says, Matt Ryan flopped in the Super Bowl. That's where it counts. Juan Ramirez says, breaking news. Joseph Jones says, can the stadium authority vote to extend any of these rules at any time? The way that I read it, I haven't seen, and it doesn't mean it's not there, I haven't seen that kind of out clause. What is clear is that the Raiders and the NFL have a short period of time to basically get their ducks in a row. And if it doesn't happen within 18 months, and it does say that, okay? And it doesn't, the language doesn't leave and out. It doesn't say, with the exception of section blah, 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 right? It says in black and white, 18 months. Now, there may be some sort of emergency measure I'm not aware of, or maybe, because I've read this thing a number of times, maybe I skipped over it, right? But I haven't seen that yet. Now, what happens after that is the University of Nevada, Las Vegas are referred to as the university, okay? And I'll get to the FAA thing in a second. The university can petition with the governor and basically the governor's office and say, hey, you know what? The Raiders didn't get everything done that they needed to do. We want it. And so so when they say we want it, what happens is that, and the governor says, fine. Something called a campus improvement district is created, because now the interest reverts to building the stadium for UNLV. Okay? That's where everything is at. All right? Now, I hope that answers your question, Mr. Jones. Hennessy says, and the non-relocation, yeah, and the non-relocation agreement's all part of this. And Raider Hernandez says, oh, damn! Joseph Jones says, with upcoming elections, can the state legislature change any of these rules for the SB1 bill? I believe, look, there's nothing stopping anyone from changing it, but when and why and under what conditions? That's the question. Is there anything, the law was passed. You would have to right now have a special session to undo it. If you wanted to make some alteration that had an impact on stopping the train now, okay? I can't see right now, of course I can't see everything, that there's a hunger to do that. Rick Rice, thumbs up, thank you, thank you. Oh, by the way, your investment is more than appreciated to follow the model that was set tonight by Cougsnipe. Thank you very much. Now, Joshua very much brightly observed that, and I quote, this Vegas thing is far from a done deal. Hashtag Forever Oakland. That's right. It is far from a done deal. And Rick Rice says, private investigators any. Thank you. Joseph Jones says, there is no way the Raiders will be able to afford anything other than what they have now. Yeah. And Tim Baldenegro, sounds like a cluster. You got it. Barry Lee says, to sum it up, Clark County wants the parking issue solved sooner rather than later so that Clark County doesn't have to pay more for parking. Actually, Clark County has to pay nothing for parking. Okay? They don't have to pay anything. This is not the city of Oakland County of Alameda situation where the Raiders are essentially bullying us into providing more parking. And Mark Davis is running around and saying, well, I want more parking here. I want more land for parking and all this stuff, okay? You notice he hasn't saber-rattled like that with respect to Vegas. He has to find it. And they're making him pay for it. That is the situation. There's no land assembly. Not that Nevada can't do land assembly, but in this instance, all the land assembly work has been done by first Majestic Realty working with Las Vegas Sands and the Oakland Raiders, and now the Oakland Raiders, pretty much on their own with consultants. They have a land consultant they're working with, for example, local Las Vegas land consultant. Okay. So, hey, Leonis Tildis says hello. How you doing? Says hello, Zinni. Now, Karen Christensen, how are you? And thank you for the investment the other day. Do you think the FAA decision will take longer than 18 months since they do not want to rush their decision? you know, Karen, I don't know. And I haven't got an answer from the FAA now. I can only tell you what I see. That we're going on 2 months of review by the FAA. And something else that was the cornerstone of my contact with the FAA today is I asked about Bali Highest parking. And what I was told, let me read that to you back, was this. So I tried to get a really succinct answer, okay? And this is what I got from the FAA. And it started like this. Greetings, I'm Zenny Abraham of Zenny 62 Media, and I've covered the NFL, the Oakland Raiders' request for a new stadium for some years now. I've been told by FAA Las Vegas that FAA Phoenix, well, that was the original one. Excuse me, I went way up there in the thread. Let me go down and get to, this is the one. This is the latest one. Good day. Say, there's some word, though not official, that the Raiders are going to approach the owners of the Bali High Golf Course property for use for up to 13,000 parking spaces for parking and tailgating. That property is located right next to the McCarran International Airport boundary, as this map shows in this link, and I provided the link. It's the green property at the foot of the runway. I talked to Southwest Airlines about that property last year when it was being touted as a location for the stadium. Bob Montgomery told me he did not favor the use of that land. My question is, was the FAA made aware of this, and would it be included in an analysis? Thank you, Zenny Abraham. What I got back was, first, the answer I got back from the FAA is checking, ... Okay? Then I got this answer. I said, thank you. Then I got this. The team, meaning the Raiders, has not amended its filing to reflect the proposal to use the golf course for parking. They would have to, they being the Raiders, file for FAA review of that site if any structures on it, such as light poles, met the height criteria for review. And here's the criteria. 77.9. Construction or alteration requiring notice. If requested by the FAA, or you propose any of the following types of construction or alteration, you must file a notice with the FAA of A, any construction or alteration that is more than 200 feet high AGL at its site. I must confess I don't know what AGL means. B, any construction, if one of you out there knows, please chime in. B, any construction or alteration that exceeds an imaginary surface extending outward and upward at any of the following slopes. 1, 100 to 1 for a horizontal distance of 20,000 feet from the nearest point of the nearest runway of each airport described in paragraph D of this section, with its longest runway more than 3,200 feet in actual length, excluding heliports. 2, 50 to 1 for a horizontal distance of 10,000 feet from the nearest point of the nearest runway of each airport described in paragraph D of this section, with its longest runway no more than 3,200 feet in actual length, excluding heliports. Okay, that's the section that I was referred to. Now, my thought was this. Okay, it's pretty unlikely you're going to have a light standard that's 200 feet tall or taller. That's the first thing. But what about paving over the road next to it? That was the gray area I didn't quite get. Now, what I was told, because I asked for clarification, here's what I asked for. I said, thanks. Just for clarification, the NFL Raiders should tell the FAA if the parking area is added to the plan, and then allow the FAA to evaluate the new configuration and not just do it and not tell the FAA. Do I have that right? And the answer I got back was this. A project sponsor must give the FAA the opportunity to review a project if any part of that project meets the criteria below that, was sent to me earlier. And I said, thank you very much. And the answer I got back was, you bet. So there's that. All right. And, there's that. So now we've got a situation where that parking deal, and when I say close, I'll show you in a minute what I mean. Okay. Now, Hennessy says, well, shouldn't that be the best decision for UNLV, just to wait out so they can take over it? Yeah, but waiting it out, basically, UNLV can't just sit on its hands because they don't want to do anything that just stops the entire project. If they were being sinister, what I would think they would want to do is keep negotiating, but make the negotiations tough and let them get just so far. Okay? Just so far. In other words, I call it the political head fake. It's like, hey, we're interested in you. Psych. That sort of thing. Now, Henry Flores says, Zinni, if Sheldon Adelson was still involved, would he cover the entire parking lot cost? Yeah, he said he would. That's how he got. That's a great question, Mr. Flores. In fact, that's how he got here. Because the CEO of, in fact, who is that guy? I want to make sure I've got that fellow's name. Las Vegas Sands CEO. Las Vegas. It's, excuse me. I used to know him by heart. Las Vegas Sands CEO. And then I'm going to say SNTIC. Boom. The Las Vegas Sands CEO is, well, the CEO is Sheldon Adelson, but I'm thinking about the president. All right. Because the president's a guy with a different name who works under the, Adelson's the chairman of the board and chief executive officer, right? So you've got now, what's this gentleman's name? Oh, Bill Hornbuckle is, no, it's Sandoval extended the time, Abood, and it's Rob something or other, Rob or Bob or, Sands says, Chief, I found it. Sands President and Chief Operating Officer, Rob Goldstein. Okay? Rob Goldstein was the one who said, we'll pay for everything. He said that. He said that. And that included the parking and the off-site transportation infrastructure improvement. And if you remember last night, I said it was that promise which allowed tax increment financing revenue to be taken off the table, because there are politicians who are really skittish about more public money going to any facet of stadium construction. All right, so that's it. So remember, they were supposed to put in $650 million. Okay. In fact, I'm trying to find the meeting minutes where he said that, but pay for, yeah, and the idea was that, according to Mr. Goldstein, the public would own the stadium, but they're going to pay for everything. So it was, the idea was to have this gift. That was the idea. Okay, so we've got the, oh yeah, and so that was tax increment financing came up, and then it was sunk later. Now, all right, now we've got Ellie. Let's see here. Oh, Barry Lee says AGL is defined as altitude expressed in the actual number of feet above the ground. All right, thank you, Barry. Thank you. And Octavio asks, what would be the ground level of reference? You mean in terms of the height? That would be the floor of itself for the parking, floor to up. All right. And Barry says an AGL is the highest point of an airport's usable runways and is measured in height above mean sea level. Ah, interesting. Very good, Barry. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Barry Lee says just Google AGL, and thank you for doing that. Above ground level. Above ground level. Now, Rick Rice says, Henry Cease had some comment. And Hennessy had said about the weight, and then Rick Rice had reacted to that, and he says, in terms of Hennessy, excuse me, in terms of UNLV waiting it out, and Rick Rice says, that's what I was thinking, Hennessy. It'd be better for them to just milk the clock and take the whole thing over. And, you know, milk the clock is a more accurate statement. UNLV has that ability to just milk the clock. But what you do politically is you don't handle things by saying, well, you know what, I don't want to talk. You talk and you gain position, because how else are you going to know when you don't want to deal with something unless you talk about that something, okay? You don't want to be sued by the Raiders for breach of implied contract. There are a lot of covenants that could, you know, basically break the university if a judge allowed them to stick. So you don't want to do that. You don't want to do that. So you have to play it just so. The trouble is that the way this SB1 is written, it allows UNLV to do that. It really does. So we've got Barry Lee says it won't cause the project. It is going to have a high cost. The Rays will have to look at staying in Oakland. Or words to that effect. Didn't quite understand that one, but I think I got it. AGL means above ground level. Active. I pray they do. Thanks, Barry Lee. Barry Lee says yeah, we got that. We got to that part. Now, we've got new. Okay, Joshua says, Masakazi says, respect. Joshua agrees, says, the Vegas thing sounds impossible to complete. Laugh out loud, just waiting for you to break the news. The deals collapse, and Mark is talking to Oakland. You know, I thought about that in going through this. It wouldn't surprise me at all if there were secret talks. It wouldn't, because this thing is messy. It just is messy. And it's messy in the very way that it wasn't messy in Oakland. That is infrastructure. We have not only the infrastructure improvements on the land, but there's nothing in terms of highways or roads around the Coliseum in Oakland that have to be upgraded. Nothing. They've all been upgraded decades ago. We're cool. Basically, the Raiders, think about this, folks. The Raiders are being asked to help pay for Las Vegas to catch up with Oakland. That's what the Raiders have got themselves into. Wow. And then not only that, the Raiders are being asked to make expenditures that back home in Oakland, the Raiders would ask the city to make. Right? So the Raiders are really getting their hat handed to them here. No question about it. No question about it. So, and Jason McClendon, hey, James McClendon, excuse me, hey, James, how are you? He says, it just appears to me, if things are this hard to come together, this Las Vegas relocation is not meant to be. And James, I think that's a very prescient observation. And Jabber says, if UNLV milks the clock, they don't get the total $750 million. That's not true. Okay? That is simply, well, that is simply not true. Okay? What happens is that they milk the clock. The $750 million, in other words, when you say, let me put it this way, the $750 million drops to $500 million because the stadium tax drops. But it doesn't go away. It does not go away. If UNLV elects to take it over, that doesn't entirely go away at all. It ignites the campus improvement district and basically paves the way, excuse the pun, for a more, from ULV's perspective, right-sized financially stadium. And I think that's what some want to begin with. Now, Coop Snipe says UNLV can pull a mark and talk in good faith with the Raiders. Barry Lee says, if I read it right in regards to AGL, it's one measured from a usable runway that there has to be a certain clearance above the stadium's roof for incoming airplanes. Right, that's the stadium's roof. But what I'm saying is that you've got the parking that's even closer to the airport. All right? So, and Raider Oakland says, hello. Hello. Now, Gen Y Progressive 83 writes, I'm starting to wonder if Mark Davis is having a midlife crisis. It seems like no matter how many setbacks there are in Vegas, he wants to move the franchise there no matter what the cost is. And I do get that impression. Jabber says they can't do anything with $550 million if they also have to buy land and infrastructure, except that you're forgetting something, Jabber. The specter of Sheldon Adelson looms. Okay? It's easy to forget that. And what I mean by that is this. Adelson and his COO, Goldstein, said, hey, look, we'll write the check for that. If you followed this story, then you know how upset Sheldon Adelson was with Mark Davis over the first proposed lease agreement between the Raiders and UNLV, where the feeling among many in the community was that UNLV was being treated like a disliked stepchild. Okay? And then last year, Messrs. Adelson and Goldstein said, we're going to pay for all that. And now the Raiders are having to having to deal with the payment. All right? They're getting stuck with the sticker. So when the Raiders go away, Adelson comes back in and says to UNLV, I am happy to write a check for you guys. Not a problem. Okay? There you go. Now, so, Go Raiders says, hey, y'all. Hey, Go Raiders. How are you? Welcome. Richard Lucero says, Mark is walking the plank. I can hear Richard Lucero doing the right? It's over. East Bay, here we come again. RN4L. Raider Nation for life is what that means. Hey, how you doing? Go Raiders. Kevin KD. Welcome, Kevin. Kevin KD says, Gen Y. That sounds pretty likely because this deal makes zero business sense. Jabber says, wishful thinking about what? I have no idea what Jabber's talking about with wishful thinking. Octavio Arias says, Jabber, they would use the $500 million in their own land. And Patrick Blackman, the land's already been purchased. So you have to remember something, all right? In Jabber, you're quick to find what you think is fault, okay? Without really stopping to think through about the process. You made one mistake already, cognitively, okay? So I'm just letting you know you made one mistake already. And Patrick Blackman says that's a big check for NCAA basketball. Well, not with Adelson paying the bill. No, okay, at all. Not with them. And the deal is in real trouble. It is. We've got a situation where, hey, Raider Flea, how are you? And I don't know what happened to Cooper. Kevin KD says, is Adelson really coming back, or is Jabber just misquoting? I think Jabber's just saying stuff because what he says doesn't... It'd be one thing if it fit cognitively into the process, but it doesn't. It's just him reacting to something I say without thinking through about the entire project. Let me give you an example of what I mean. You see, the land. The Raiders bought the land, but the law says that, guess who owns it? Not the Raiders, the Las Vegas Stadium Authority. All right? The Las Vegas Stadium Authority. I'll repeat that. The Las Vegas Stadium Authority. So the Raiders were forced to buy the land, and they have to turn it over to the Las Vegas Stadium Authority. So that just shows you that Jabber doesn't know what he's talking about. Sorry, Jabber, you don't. Welcome to Zinni 62, buddy. You come here, you know your stuff. You don't, you leave. So anyway, or listen. Okay. So now, Kevin KD says, yeah, it doesn't make any sense in the grand scheme of things. Patrick and Blackman says they would have to host numerous Final Fours to make money. That is, if Adelson comes in and writes a check and Las Vegas Sands gets involved, that would change the economics of that project. You have to remember something. Prior to the Raiders coming in, and I have the study for what was to be the original Las Vegas large-scale event center. And that's how it was originally called in the law. All right? Las Vegas has wanted this for quite some time because it doesn't have a big place to host concerts. A huge place. Like, you know, we've got Levi Stadium or the Coliseum. Las Vegas has no venue like that. All right? So, Rick Rice says if Adelson steps in to bail Mark out, he's going to want something back in return. That's right. Don't think Mark will be willing to give anything up. The result, Oakland Raiders 2020 forever. And Rick Rice is right. That was the other issue. When Mr. Adelson said he wanted partial ownership of the Raiders, which Jerry Jones liked the idea of, he said, you know, I got to figure out how to get something out of this thing. Adelson knew what would happen if he pulled out with respect to the economics of this deal from the Raiders' perspective. It's, look, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure it out. I can tell you that. The Raiders are already $27 million in the hole because of that loan. And folks, it's just getting worse. It's just getting worse. You know, someone crows about naming rights and all this. Yeah, just come on, okay? A team sells naming rights to help pay for the operation of the organization. It doesn't sell naming rights to help pay off a loan. That's a waste of dollars. Assuming, of course, you can get those naming rights. So, now, let's see here. Donald Smith said, I think I just started watching, but how possible is it that UNLV gets the stadium and the Raiders are forced to stay in Oakland? It's very possible. And Jabber, I'm not making a big mistake because the one thing that I've done, and you haven't, is I ran the numbers several times. And I talk to people you don't talk to. And I actually know who you are. So, sorry. So anyway, Renzo Fitz says, top 3 running back in the league. I'll get that second. Kevin KD says, let's say hypotheticals that that Las Vegas was a good deal. Why didn't they just build downtown like the mayor wanted them to, as opposed to the Strip and the Raiders are really going to feed off of one another? Because Adelson and Stephen Wynn wanted the foot traffic that they believed would help the stadium come into the they wanted the Strip here and the stadium here, and they wanted the flow of traffic. Okay, so that's it. Now we've got, hey, A31 Scott, how are you? Okay, how you doing? How are you? Now, oh, by the way, someone is claiming that the Raiders won't turn over the land. When, if the Raiders don't turn over the land, guess what? That's one of the 13 documents. It doesn't get done, and therefore, hey, guess what? They'll be working against the law, and it would shift to UNLV anyway. So I'm glad you pointed that out. Once again, this is Jabber. Jabber has no idea what he's talking about, folks, at all. At all. Now, if Jabber works for the Raiders, which I would hope, and he's walking into a meeting with that idea, he's going to get his hat handed to him. Excuse me, he's going to get upside down. He's going to get intellectually turned upside down, and they're going to intellectually pound his head into the turf. I'm serious. This guy has no idea what the SNTIA reads. Okay? So anyway. So we've got, let's see here. Kevin KD says, while I respect the business acumen of Adelson and Wynn, I don't think they understand football's fandom culture. Donald Smith says, I'm also not saying I want this to happen. What if the Vegas deal falls through, but Oakland didn't accept them back? That's a huge what if. I don't... It's well, wait. Let's think about that, all right? Because here's the deal. Here's the thing. They're already in Oakland, and that's what people forget. The Raiders have their feet in two camps. Two. Oakland and Las Vegas. So they're not losing the right to be in Oakland. It's not like, oh yeah, we're going to leave. That's not how it works. It's not like you turn off a switch. The Coliseum will be there. They'll play at the Coliseum for perhaps the next 3 years before this thing gets done, if it gets done at all. At all. Okay. So, Octavio Arias says, hey, yes, Zinni, but it's right if the deal does not get done, the Raiders keep the land. Actually, no. If the deal doesn't get done, the rule is that you can't build anything without turning it over to the authority. That's in the law. So that's wrong. The Raiders are buying the land, and they have to give it to the stadium authority. Period. Period. That's in black and white. Now, if the Raiders want to play a game and not do that, then Adelson would come in, buy land someplace else, and the process would start all over again without the Raiders. The Raiders would have nothing. They would have nothing. The money would revert to UNLV. So don't ever think the Raiders have that kind of power. Anybody who does, I'm just telling you, you're a fool. I'm not going to curse, but you're a fool. Okay? And Jabber, I know the Raiders haven't handed their land over yet, because to do so, you know what it means? Guess what? Let's put an additional point of fact on it. The Las Vegas Stadium Authority hasn't approved the land itself. All right? So again, you're trying to get different points, but you know what? I think after this point, I'm going to ignore you, because what you're saying is not true. I don't want to say anything mean. I'm just going to say basically it's not true. So I'm going to ignore it. When someone comes forward that's really knowledgeable about the project, like if you're the planning representative of the planning department or something like that, fine. But if you're not representing the planning department or a developer, and you're willing to acknowledge who you are, and you're not that person, then I'm not going to acknowledge BS, because what you're putting out there is BS. And not only that, I'm going to allow it for only maybe another 5 minutes, and then I'm just going to say go away. Because you could be Money Man. Ooh, Money Man 9073. Okay. And if I figure out you are, you're gone. Right now, it's kind of looking like you are. So moderators, get ready. Unless, of course, Jab, you say something that makes sense, and rather than just these point things. That feels familiar to me. So anyway, and so in Octavio, they have to give it to get the deal done. All right, they have to get it to get the deal done. Okay, so here we go. Out. All right, there we go. Okay, now. Donald Smith says, also, do you think that if the deal falls through, the relocation mess will stop? Oh, it's too late, Crawford. I did the job for the moderators. Because that person is has got some issues, and I think I know who that is. And that person's got some issues, and I'd rather not to have that person on my channel anyway. So, you know, that again, it's great if someone comes and says, hey, Zinni, this part of the law says this. You guys ask great questions, right? And then we can deal with that from the question. When a person issues an absolute, with the objective of just proving me wrong at a point, what happens is that they don't think systemically. What I mean by that is they don't think in terms of what they're saying and ask the question, hey, is what I'm saying correct within the scheme of how the law works and who is responsible for what? The Raiders are in the position of having to purchase the land, and they must turn it over to the Las Vegas Stadium Authority. If they don't do that, basically the lease agreement is dead. Why? Because that's one of the stipulations of the stadium land agreement. It has to be turned over. So you can't let the Raiders have the land and then have all these agreements done. That's not the way it's written. And there's a very concrete reason for that, folks. And it's this. You want to know why? Because the bond issue, the $750 million that this dude was yapping about without knowing, and I want you to pay attention to this, is tied to the ownership of the stadium land. I'm going to give you another example of what I'm talking about. When the Raiders PSLs at Oakland failed to sell at the rate that was needed, which is basically $83 million, they sold $56 million worth. Prior to that, the way the master lease agreement was written between the Raiders and the Oakland Alameda County Coliseum Joint Powers Authority was that the Raiders would own 51% of the Coliseum. But when the load of debt shifted to where, because in order to prevent bond default, the city and the county had to dig out of their general funds, then Ignacio de la Fuente and the city and the treasurer said, okay, we need to own, and the bond underwriter said, you, city and county, need to own the Coliseum. And so everything was rewritten so they own the Coliseum. That's a common structure in these fiscal designs. Very similarly, the Las Vegas Stadium Authority needs to own the land and the stadium in order for the $750 million to be properly let for stadium construction. That's what people don't understand who say things like that guy said that I blocked. He doesn't know the totality of the deal. He doesn't understand this kind of financing. He hasn't been in the rooms where it's been done. He hasn't talked to investment bankers. He hasn't been anywhere. Okay? And I despise his absolutes. A consistent string of incorrect absolutes. A legend in his own mind. I'm willing to be not a legend in my own mind and have, someone from planning come on and prove me wrong and everything else, and go back and, call the FAA and have myself checked and say, hey, look, I was wrong about this. Fine. Because it means better information for you. At the end of the day, it means you're served better. And to which I ask you to do this. Invest. Okay? Oops. Not necessarily in the Vegas Sands thing, but oh boy, that was pretty funny there. But invest in Zinni 62 Media and you will get shares back. And you will get shares back. Let me put that and I'll say again, invest, please. Right there. Okay? Now, hold on a second. We've got okay. Now we've got I got Don Smith, and Anthony Fitzgerald says Mark Davis doesn't get the deal done in Las Vegas. How does he look in the other eyes of the 31 owners? I would think that since Jerry Jones was with him, he doesn't look bad. It's just that he couldn't work out the deal. He gets to stay in Oakland. So really, if you look at it from a fiscal perspective, Mark Davis is in a win-win. If he can somehow get enough money to make Las Vegas work, he wins. But if he doesn't, Oakland is a much better place to be. It's a better market. You spend less money. The fan base is happy. He's got nothing to lose. Okay? Technically. So, and Crawford says agrees and let's move on. Thank you very much. Thank you. And thank you. And Octavio Arias says contracts are all tied together. Yeah, that's right. And it's a complex system. And you have to understand what contract relates to what action. And if you don't, it's very easy to make a mistake. They took a lot of time putting this together in a small box framework of a year, less than a year. They rushed a lot of things, but they worked quite literally in some cases overnight. In a number of cases overnight. I'm talking about the consultants to the Southern Nevada Tourism Infrastructure Committee, and this is where Jeremy Aguilo earned his money. Putting this together is where Aguilo and Applied Analysis of Las Vegas earned their money. Straight out, no question about it. Okay. So Joseph Jones says, Zinni, is there any reason why the Oakland government hasn't come up with a rendering for a new stadium with all these issues in Vegas? We lack the will and the initiative to complete big projects. Our problem, historically, has been that we see our pathologies, our ills, as so big that we believe collectively as a city of Oakland that we shouldn't have fun, you know, that completing big projects is San Francisco's job. There are people who, like Jerry Brown, who's our governor, who have said comments like that in the past. When I was working on the Super Bowl, he told a group of business people from China, hey, we're trying to get the Super Bowl here. I don't know why. We don't have the hotel San Francisco does. Thanks, Jerry. Okay. Jerry Brown did not do me favors, and I'm being completely honest. Had he done me favors, had Jerry Brown been the kind of mayor that stood behind 100% from the start the city's Super Bowl effort and put his stamp on it, we would have had the Super Bowl, and my life, you know, would have been different. Not that my life is bad, but getting a Super Bowl to your region is a great feather in your cap, as it was, because the NFL acknowledges me as one of a handful of people in NFL history to assemble a Super Bowl bid for his region, win or lose. Because of that, my life has been really great. I've been able to cover the draft, build a business around covering the NFL and everything else to this point. But hey, look, had we landed the Super Bowl in Oakland, yeah, that'd be a lot of fun. I would have a lot of fun. So, we've got, let's see here. I'm getting back to your comments. Lisa, it's funny. Alex Perez says, there are 3 corporations involved in the Raiders, Bank of America, and Las Vegas. Actually, the governor of Nevada and the government, that's 4, and then Clark County is 5. What's the percentage of ownership each one has? Well, let me take that question. I think it's, I mean, I appreciate the spirit of it, Alex. Now, the Las Vegas Stadium Authority is to own, that's why it's called the Las Vegas Stadium, own the stadium outright. Is to own the land outright. The situation is being said where the Raiders buy it for them. Okay. Now, in terms of the city of Las Vegas, they've got nothing. Clark County owns, basically, is the bonding seat for the Las Vegas Stadium Authority, and technically owns the Las Vegas Stadium Authority. It's the state's involvement comes in the way of the state of Nevada's Director of Economic Development, Stephen Hill, being the chairperson of the Las Vegas Stadium Authority. So that's how all of that lays out. As far as Bank of America is concerned, Bank of America would own the leasehold, or own the leasehold of the Raiders. What that means is basically the rent that the Raiders will pay is not rent at all. It's the loan debt service to Bank of America on an annual basis. That loan debt service is treated as if it's rent to the Stadium Authority, even though it isn't, but it's rent to stay in the stadium. Bank of America owns that. Therefore, if the Raiders can't pay that, Bank of America takes over the leasehold. That's how that works. Okay. So, hey Jay, how are you? Welcome. Hope that answers your question. And Octavio says, but if the deal does not get done, all conditions revert back. Well, if the deal doesn't get done, they don't necessarily revert back. They actually revert forward. the hotel tax is still there. It gets reduced a little bit. UNLV has the option of coming in, goes to the governor and says, hey, we want in. Governor says, yeah. Project goes on. Hotel tax continues to be collected. All right. And you have to remember, if we get that far, it means that all these agreements are approved, including the land transfer, which means they would own the land and the Raiders would be nicely out of the way. Got it? So your silence says, one thing worth noting, if Vegas fails, any threat by Mark in the future could also be taken more seriously, or something like that is what I consider. What do you mean by that? I don't understand what that means. Octavio says, Oakland's problem is that there's no stadium deal done and on the way. That's wrong, Octavio. That's completely wrong. It ignores what happened last December, where the Alameda County Board of Supervisors approved the Fortress deal and the Ronnie Lott deal. It ignores the Oakland City Council doing the same thing on the same day. You have to remember something. That deal has not been dissolved. That deal is still active. So for you to say that means, hey, you're not paying attention, man. You're one of my investors. Octavio, you got to do better than that, man. Come on, man. What you do that for, dude? Come on, man. You know better than that. You're a Zinster. Get rid of it. Anyway, Rick Rice says, Zenny from here. Thanks, man. Donald Smith says, if the Raiders stay in Oakland, City and the Raiders need to give a big Oakland corporation to invest and build a dome stadium, 70,000 seats, so that Oakland can host Final Fours, playoffs, and Super Bowls. I remind everybody that Fortress has not gone away. Okay? Again, Fortress has not gone away. That deal is still there. And I remind everybody that deal is still there. Okay? That deal is still there. But Octavio, the reason they don't proceed with it is because they don't have NFL approval. It doesn't mean it can't revert. In other words, it doesn't mean that if Vegas doesn't work out, Oakland could turn around and say, hey, that thing is officially dead, so we're going to work on this one. Come on, you should know these things. I mean, you should really know these things. Why are you in this mood like you're just going to be like Jabber all of a sudden? Don't do that. I mean, come on. Okay? I mean, you know, what are you doing? Having, like, a bunch of cans of beer or something? It kind of sounds like that, man, because I'm not used to you being that way. I really am not. I'm used to being a lot more sensible. I'm just being honest as a friend, okay? Because by now, these are things that you should know. I know you've been away for a little bit, but I'm just picking at you, my man. Come on, you're a Zinster. You're not one of those people. All right? Now, so Jim Perez says, I didn't know Jerry Brown did that. And let's see, we've got Raider Oakland says, a question for the future. How much revenue is earned for the team and the city from hosting a Super Bowl? Whew! The city of Oakland, when I pitched the Super Bowl, the Raiders controlled 6,000 Super Bowl tickets valued on the street at $3,000. That's one thing. Oakland hotels made $60 million. In total, the city of Oakland made $162 million. The bulk of that came from hotels. The basic rule of thumb for determining Super Bowl economics properly, the NFL has this blanket where it says everybody is like 300 million, right? Whatever, right? Minnesota, 300 million. Bay Area, 300 million. Everybody, 300 million, right? Well, Houston, 300 million. Well, not exactly. What you do is you have to say how many hotels are being used and how many do you have in Oakland versus San Francisco versus, say, San Jose. Because how much money is spent in a municipality is dictated by how many people stay there. The more hotels you have, the more money you can make. The reason why I developed the concept Jack London's NFL Playland for Oakland was because if we had no place like Super Bowl City in San Francisco or Houston, everybody would have went to San Francisco, and Oakland would have had diddly squat. So my idea was to build a Super Bowl city in Oakland, what they call Super Bowl City, what I call Jack London's NFL Playland, and that's so we can make more money. Now, by my calculations, we were taking in about $26 million. Yeah. When you consider sponsorships, when you consider the gate fee, I had a gate set up. I know NFL wouldn't have wanted that, but no, 26 million, excuse me, 15 million. NFL wouldn't have wanted that. But I had it designed so that we had big names like the Rolling Stones coming in and so on. Oh, it was going to be glorious. In fact, it was going to be a lot like Super Bowl City in San Francisco, which attracted 1 million people. 1 million people spending $15 a head, that's 15 million. They spend a little bit more than that. That's not bad. Not bad at all. That's what Oakland would have gotten. Okay? That's what Oakland would have gotten. Oh, I don't want to get upset again. Whatever. Get it. Let's see here. We've got... Octavio says you should always question everything. Octavio, I agree. It's not questioning I object to. It's the quality of the question. And my point is that your questions were more like jabbers than they have been in the past. In the past, your questions have been really good. But tonight, they're more kind of snipey. Like, the yap dog kind of thing. I'm not used to that from you. That's what I'm talking about. I will never tell a person not, to question something. But I do get I'm a human being. I expect people with this thing, whether you can read, I expect them, particularly after this many episodes of it, to have some level of knowledge. Again, not to agree with what I'm saying, but if you have a disagreement and we're talking about, look, there's a finite set of documents that apply to this, and they're not going to change in their appearance from you to me. They're going to say the same thing. The difference between you and me is that I spend time reading them, and maybe you don't have that time. And that's why you come and you watch this, okay? Fine. So if I'm taking time to do that on my own rather than read some publication which gets it wrong, then why not listen to what I'm explaining to you? And then if you question something, you do it this way. You say, hey, Zinni, I saw in this document, in this section, here, it says X. How does that square with what you said here? I love that. Because then it means I have to do work to figure that out. Well, look at what Barry Lee did. Barry found out what the height thing was. I didn't know. I admitted it right here. I didn't know what that was. Can you help? You see what I'm saying? That's a healthy exchange. That's a healthy discourse where you have a mutual gain of knowledge from research and discussion. That's what I'm talking about. But this one person stating absolute that I know is wrong, and they keep doing it again and again and again, and I know each one is wrong, and it's obviously haven't read the document, which annoys me. After a while, I get pissed off. I'm sorry. I just do. There you go. So, Rick Rice says, yes, Zinni, some people are just confused. We don't know everything like you do. Now, I don't know everything. But I know what I'm interested in. It's not a matter of knowing everything. Look, it's a matter of saying, hey, look, I have a concrete source here. That is the law. What do you have other than the law as it's written? That is my point. Okay? That's my point. If you have somebody saying something, great, produce it. What did they say? Who were they? When did they say it? Does it square with the law? No. Okay? So, there. We've got, Bernard says, that makes no sense. Barry Lee says, I live in San Antonio. I believe my Mark can't move here because Jerry Jones won't allow it. Bad Boy says, UNLV's silence through all this speaks volumes. It does. Tremendous volumes. And Octavio says, Oakland needs to build a stadium, then to have the NFL come knocking. And Octavio, that's where I think you're absolutely right. The trouble is that, first of all, the Raiders already play there, and you can't tear down the Coliseum. Okay? Where are you going to put the Raiders? Against their own wishes. Are you going to put them in Berkeley? Berkeley doesn't want them. Levi Stadium? That's got to be worked out. So right now, we are in a position where we just simply have to let it play out. I agree that Oakland needs to have a design ready to go. That's a different statement. So that's why I'm asking you to think through what you're saying, because normally you make a great deal of sense. But tonight, you're not making sense. Think it through. Think it through. Okay, now, Donald Smith says Oakland needs to host a bowl game. College, yeah, I agree with that. Go Raiders says, hey Zinni, thank you for your channel live streams. It keeps me happy because the active, oh, this is very nice. This is very nice, Go Raiders. Very nice because the active guy that was in chat, he attacked me. I'm sorry, he says that. And after he got blocked by Barry for getting mad at me. Oh, don't worry about it. There's some, folks have some issues and they shouldn't take out their issues behind a false name. People do that. That's very sad. Sorry you experienced that. Drew Glaze says, okay, I didn't understand that. Donald Smith says, yeah, I was just thinking that Jack London Square is a good place for Super Bowl City. Yeah, call it Jack London's NFL Playland. Your Silence says, another way of wording my earlier comment would be seeing it as a power play by Mark to be taken more seriously the next time he speaks with Oakland officials. I think, and I see what you're saying, and I think that's a laudable point. Here's the problem. Oakland officials do take him seriously. The trouble is that Mark Davis has spent a lot of time working behind their back, not with good faith. There has never been on the Raiders' part a design for a stadium that was presented to the public, okay, that everybody saw. And the Raiders made a video behind it and said, this is what we want in Oakland. That is the complaint. All Oakland has ever wanted was to see the Raiders give them the same focus that was given to Carson and to Las Vegas. Laser beam. Oakland has not been the recipient of a laser beam focus of planning by the Raiders. That's the problem. Okay? So, Bernard says, just ready for the season to start. Honestly. Rick Rice says, Octavio, Oakland isn't going to spend millions of dollars building a stadium without having a guaranteed tenant for it. Thank you. But see, Octavio knows that. That's what I'm getting at, Rick. Octavio's, he's a regular. He knows that stuff. So, he really does. That's why I'm not giving him short shrift, because he's a smart guy. He knows that stuff. Patrick Blackman says, do you think Mark Davis thought you sounded too good to be true when you had backing Piper Jaffray? Well, if he did, all he had to do was call. Look, I gave them the emails. And again, it wasn't that I said it. I connected them. See, from your point of view, you didn't see the emails. They have the emails. All they had to do was call. I set the table for them. So there wasn't room for somebody to say, oh, gee, I just don't believe him. Because that would be idiocy. And I don't think the Raiders are idiots like that. Okay? What happened, as I recall, I remember getting on the elevator with Bedane, and this was in Schaumburg. And I saw Bedane at the, it wasn't the elevator, it was a side area where we get coffee. And we were talking about how much we miss collectively Fred Blackwell, who was a friend of the Raiders and the chief administrative officer of the city of Oakland when Gene Kwan was mayor, okay? So we had a great conversation about that. But what happened was that the Raiders were in the middle of an exclusive negotiated agreement with the city of Oakland at the time of the whole Piper Jaffray issue. And that's what Bedane was saying to me. He said, I'd like to talk to you about an ENA. Now, what Libby could have done, who also had the documents, Libby could have said, I'm the mayor. I'm going to break that ENA because I want to take a look at what Zinni has done. She knew that, but the Raiders didn't know that. But I gave both parties my information. I did as much as I could do. I gave them who to contact. I gave them evidence of our 6-person conference call, myself and the team at Piper Jaffrey, who blessed the numbers that I came up with. So it wasn't a matter of Zinni saying something and I can't corroborate or corroborate, what he's saying. No, that wasn't the case at all. So let's see here. Cougar Niceness Forever Oakland. King Jose says, "Hey, King Jose is back. Oh my God, this is amazing. King Jose, how are you? Great to see you, my man." And yeah, we all missed you, King Jose. Octavia says, "I just think it would, if the Raiders agreed to turn over the land with no guarantees, it's not good business sense." But Octavio, that's the way it's written. That's the way the agreement is written. I understand what you're saying, but the agreement is written that way. If they don't turn over the land, it causes a domino effect where, because they don't turn over the land, the stadium authority doesn't own the land, then the $750 million can't be spent on stadium construction. That's the way the financing is written. So the Raiders have to turn over the land. Okay? So John Mark says, "No on Vegas, stay in Oakland." Bernard says, "Good luck with that." John Mark says, "Hail Barry Lee and Rick Rice and Zinni and Raiders." Hey, how are you doing, John? And King Jose is back. Hey, King Jose, I hear LeBron James is coming to the Warriors. Just kidding. Joseph Jones says, "Zinni, why hasn't the Oakland government come with a better detailed rendering for a new stadium with all these issues in Vegas?" Joseph Jones, that is an excellent question. Okay? And that is, see, Octavio, there's an excellent question. All right? And so my point is, and that's why I say I'm just picking off something here, there is a problem where Oakland lacks the will and the initiative to complete big projects. That's the problem. They don't want to spend the money, which, in the scheme of things, doesn't cost a lot of money. So, Richard Lucero says, "Mark Davis doesn't want to stay in Oakland, period. Whatever the city of Oakland wants to do with the Raiders, he still won't budge." Donald Smith says, "You should wear your Zen t-shirt during all your videos to promote your brand." Noted. Bernard says, "But I got to give it to you, Zinni. Watching keeps hope alive." And, it's not, and I appreciate that, but I'm not doing this just to keep hope alive because, for example, I told you the Raiders are going to sign a non-relocation agreement. They haven't signed it yet. But I feel it's incumbent upon somebody to give you as clear a picture as possible of the realities of this, because you've had too many people putting out news that, including myself at points, that just favors one side. But this is my issue. I love stadium development. I'd love to see this in Oakland. I love Las Vegas. Las Vegas deserves an NFL team. It deserves an NHL team. It deserves pro sports. But Las Vegas has to have a come to Jesus moment where it accepts the fact that it does not correctly do urban planning. And I'm not slamming the people who represent comprehensive planning. They do so within the environment of a very vibrant, dynamic, entrepreneurial culture that is Las Vegas and Nevada. It's a different animal than the Bay Area. But that animal is not used to planning in such a way where it can say, we've got the streets and the roads able to accommodate a 65,000 seat stadium. That is the problem. And so no other organization in media is going to bring that view to you but this one. That's why I ask you to invest. It takes time and money to do this research, but also I'm giving you a level of expertise you're not going to get anywhere else, and a background you're not going to get anywhere else. You're just not. So Donald Smith is right. I ought to wear my Zenny shirt. And I thank Barry Lee for wearing it on his. So 831 Scott says the 49ers moving to Santa Clara was a stupid move and is biting them in the backside. They should have built a new stadium on the Candlestick Park site. Not a 49er fan, but just saying bad move. And 831 Scott, I do agree with you. Barry Lee says, Octavio, you're right to an extent, because here in San Antonio, They built the AMLO Dome here to attract an NFL team, and 27 years later, nothing. But see, that's my point, Barry, is that San Antonio is different because they don't have a team. We have the Raiders. So let's think about this logistically. Where are you going to put the Raiders? And by the way, you have to do that with their cooperation. So you're going to upend their lives just for your own plans? That's not the way to do it. That is not the way to do it. We are in a position where we got to let this play out. But I do agree we need to be ready when the shoe drops. We have the fortress plan. It has been approved. It includes $300 million in funding from the city and the county. It's in place. Okay? It's there. We don't have to worry about any approvals. We don't have to worry about zoning. We don't have to worry about financing infrastructure. It's all freaking there. So please, don't tell me that Oakland needs to come up with a plan. Oakland has a plan. All we need to do is be ready. That's what we need to do. And watchful. But I will not personally disrespect the work that has been done by Fortress and a number of people to get as far as we have. Like it or not, over the past year and a half, Oakland had the most sustained focus on new stadium development it has had in a long time. And that is, even though she's made a lot of other mistakes, that's the credit of Oakland Mayor Libby Schaaf. Okay? So we can't throw the baby out with the bathwater. I know in this society it's easy to state absolute ideas and reject things and say things about people and women and tech and all that stuff, which is stupid, but it doesn't mean it's right. We have to have some room for some common sense discussion and thinking. Right, King Jose? Right. So, so we've got Aaron Blaylock. My God, where have you been, Mr. Blaylock? Aaron Blaylock says, does Berkeley still feel the same way about the NFL after all these years? Pro ball is big money compared to the 70s when they last hosted the Raiders. I believe Berkeley has some sort of ordinance against that kind of activity now, but I'll double check. I'll double check on that. Raiders Oakland says, in the words of InfoWars and Alex Jones, where are the documents? I got my documents. Thank you. Rudy Gomez says, Mark Davis has Raider Nation divided. Oakland Raider fans versus all other non-Oakland Raider fans. A house divided will not stand. Wise statement. Kevin KD says, so that's why San Antonio built it, meaning that sucks for San Antonio. Yeah. And John Marks says, King Jose, how are you doing? Yurt Sign says, interesting. I'll be thinking about how what you did and what the Raiders are doing fits in. There's always a bigger picture when operating a large business. Yeah, it really is. Particularly in this instance. Barry Lee said, yeah, San Antonio City Council back then was stupid. Drew Glaze says to Rudy Gomez, families always get divided due to disagreements. They get over it eventually. Drew Glaze, that's one of the wisest statements I've ever heard. And I'm not kidding you. That's true. Jacob says, Davis is going to Vegas, but is Oakland working like Cleveland did to keep the history, colors, and Raider name? I don't know how the lawsuit's going to form if it's filed, but I do know that a lot of conversation is happening. I can say it like I said it, which if you think that means cryptically I know more than I let on, you're correct. And it's very exciting. I can say that as well. Now, King Jose says good. In other words, he's good. John Marks, just trying to get my body in the best shape possible for you playing basket. You can't. Do you remember that song? King Jose, you probably, well, you need to know this song by Curtis Blow. Basketball. You're playing basketball. I love that basketball. Anyway, I love that song. Boy, oh boy, that's a great song. Playing basketball. John Mark says investment broker. And Yurt says, I wonder what Mark Davis long-term play is. Hence why I think Vegas Carson might have been plays to show how serious Mark is about what he says. My best analogy for what for it would be. I have to think of that one through. John Mark says he's good to King Jose, and Kook Snipe says, Jacob, we're exploring what options we have. JPA meeting next month, September 15th, for approval to have city-county vote. King Jose says, what's up, M.O. Scott? 831 Scott says, hello to King Jose. And Todd Christensen says, Todd, where's Karen? Says to Donald Smith, what the people of Oakland need to do is stop electing every parasite that the state DNC has put in front of them. Oh my God. They have their own swamp to drain. That's hilarious. Joseph Jones says, Zinni, do you think with Mark's recent comments he's trying to sabotage this deal knowing that he can't afford this deal? Yeah, I think, well, I don't know if he's trying to sabotage it, but I think Mark is a straight shooter, and, well, he's a straight shooter in terms of his feelings. It's hard for Mark Davis, to me, to tell a story. Even though we're talking about good faith, you can tell when Mark is not being straight with you, okay? It's like, to me, Mark Davis is the guy that grew up, honors his mom to this day, never lies to his mom, and you can see some of that coming out in him. So it's really difficult for him to kind of like, skew the mirror this way and make it look like that, right? But he's trying to get what he believes is the best deal for his team. And he's trying to get his team boosted in terms of franchise value, among other things. The Raiders should be worth, I'll say this straight out, as far as I'm concerned, the Raiders should be worth more than the Dallas Cowboys, okay? More. The Raiders should be worth $5 billion, period. There is no reason, given the huge chunks of fans around the world that are Raider fans, that the Raiders should not clear $5 billion in franchise value. And I believe that's what Mark Davis is thinking, and I believe he's absolutely right. Okay? So I get it. I don't think the Las Vegas thing is the best way because Vegas has a lot of expenditures you have to make. It's the money pit. Oh yeah, the house looks great, but you got to put a lot of money here, here, and here, right? It's that kind of thing. Okay? So, hey, go Raiders, I'll see you. It's too short. And Joseph Jones says, I feel like I didn't feel old enough with Zinni with Curtis Blow. I guess it's funny. Jim White Progressive says, John Mark says that King Jose should play for the Warriors. For those of you who don't know, King Jose is a regular here who's going to, you're in Michigan State, right? Are you still trying out for the team? How's that going, King Jose? Jin Y Progressive says, if the Warriors become another sports dynasty like the Jordan era Chicago Bulls, do you think it will make Bay Area a more valuable sports market? Yeah, because, and I think it was Baus that pointed out something, Baus, your ruler, that pointed out something that is absolutely smart. And he said that getting Kevin Durant proves that, getting Kevin Durant proves that the area can attract top talent. And it was a great transaction to have for the Bay Area. And then to have Steph Curry land the Supermax deal that he did. And then to have Derek Carr land the huge contract that he landed. It sends a gigantic message to the world that the Bay Area is #1 in sports. And we got the money to show for it. That's what that says. That's a big statement. It really is. So, Jacob says, for Oakland to get another NFL team, what is the city doing to compete? Globally, NFL appears to be less interested in local fan bases and positioning itself to compete globally. That's a very good question, Jacob, because it goes back to something that Jerry Jones said about only 7% of the NFL fans going to stadiums. And that would tell me that the NFL is more interested in what you're talking about. But it doesn't mean that, look, but of all the cities in the NFL system, the Raiders and Oakland Raiders have the fan base to fight politically that the city under the mayor should have activated sooner. That town hall meeting that was done 2 days before the vote, that town hall meeting should have been done two years prior, and it should have been done every year, at least twice a year, right? To gin up the fan base. Which, if we had done it like the task force I told Libby to set up, that she didn't do, we would have had that. We didn't have that. So we've got now, some of us in St. Louis recognize Kroenke left because St. Louis is not a global destination, and LA is. And Kev KD says true. And not only that, St. Louis is more hurt by the whole NAACP thing, and you know the call out that, hey, if you're African American, you shouldn't be driving through Missouri, right? Ooh boy. Okay, and I've never been there, so I'm like, okay, another reason not to go. So we've got King Jose says, don't forget about those tickets for Zinni and me now. I got it. Barry Lee's talking to you, King Jose. Don't forget us when you make it big time. Big time. Big time. Todd Christian says, the only reason the Rams went to St. Louis is because of Georgia Frontiere. True. King Jose says, John Marks, anyone except the Warriors. I don't care how my boy Draymond Green went with him. Oh, come on, King Jose. Man, this is what we love about King Jose. He's always keeping it real. Jacob P says, sorry I'm late. Hey, Jacob, welcome back. How'd your cross-country practice go, Jacob? Tell us. And Kevin KD said, correct me if I'm wrong, but did they not leave LA in '95 with the Raiders? They did. You are correct. Octavio says St. Louis is a beautiful city. Are they? Hey, good night, Barry Lee. I'll say, is St. Louis known for barbecue? I'm wondering. King Jose versus the Ball family. He's talking about Lonzo Ball. Is your dad like Lonzo Ball? I'm just wondering. Do you have big baller shoes, King Jose? Seriously. I want a copy. Big baller shoes. Kansas City is known for the barbecue, I'm informed now. KC. Now, we've got, I was plugging in the computer there. So, Crawford says they both left together. Yes, that's correct. Talking about St. Louis, the Rams leaving LA for St. Louis, and then the Raiders leaving LA to come back to Oakland. And ironically enough, both of them playing. The first game Raiders were back in the Coliseum August 12th of 1996. Okay, so we've got Crawford says the Rams left for Orange County, right? Octavio says nice historic buildings in St. Louis. John Marks says that LA is a basketball town. John, you don't think LA is a football town? We'll find out Saturday what it looks like. King Jose says, hey Zinni, honestly I ordered the big baller shoes. The first ones that came back, all black ones. Really? You have them? Wow, that would be cool. Oh, and Octavio, I got your, you know what? Octavio, you talked about NFL Game Pass, right? The Game Pass thing. I haven't forgot about that. And you want to get on Skype to talk about that. Let's schedule that. I hope you're still there, all right? Got you. I got your back, man. We're family. I got you. I can get after you once in a while. You get after me. That's cool. So anyway, Kevin KD says, y'all, I remember when they left. One of my first football memories, along with watching Steve Young obliterate the Chargers in '95. Rick Rice says, is that a serious question, Zinni? St. Louis and barbecue? Yeah, that is a serious question. I haven't been to St. Louis. And he says, I want my baby back, baby back, baby back, baby back, baby back, baby back ribs, barbecue sauce. So there you go, Rick Rice. See, Octavio, I haven't forgot about your NFL Game Pass issue. I have not forgot about that at all. Jacob says, Rams overperform with fans while underperforming on the field. Okay? And hey, so if you like more singing like that, please, even if it's $2, please invest. Ta-da! Rams overperform while fans were underperforming on the field. We had a new stadium approved and everything. Kroenke wants Dubai and Euro fans. And that's what he's going to get. It's a different LA fan base down there. It really is. King Jose says, Zinni, are you still wearing a Warrior shirt? Excuse me. Yes, I am still wearing a Warriors shirt. Strength in numbers. Strength in numbers, King Jose. Remember that. Strength in numbers. Okay? Raider Oakland says later nation. I'll see you. I Octavio says more like big corporation issues. Got it. And Crawford says St. Louis deserves better respect. The NFL owes them a team. And Kaylee Lett says, hello, should I sub? Kaylee, I'd love to have you as a subscriber. Crawford 371 says King Jose for Kyrie. Octavio Arias says St. Louis needs the Cardinals back. Yeah. See, I remember the Cardinals with Jim Hart at quarterback. And the St. Louis Cardinals Dallas Cowboys battles, right? When O.J. Anderson ran roughshod over the Cowboys flex defense. I remember that game because I was a big Cowboys fan. Like, oh, did this the Dallas, and Tom Landry was supposed to be the genius and he couldn't stop him. Oh, man. I remember that. Wow. So, and yeah, as G. Taylor reminds us of Terry Metcalf. Great Hall of Famer. Thank you for subbing, Kaylee. Welcome to Zinster Nation. Zinster Nation is a hard word for me to say because it sounds like consternation. I have to figure out something else. So, Gen Y Progressive 83 says, do you think Mark Davis was just using LA as a bargaining chip in January? No, I believe he seriously wanted to go down there. He had said so after Mr. Davis passed away. I think Mark Davis, I was there when the announcement was made where the Rams had the right, won the right, excuse me, to move to LA and not the Raiders, and Mark was not happy. He felt like the Raiders had ownership to that area, their fan base was better suited for it, everything. Plus he lives down there, he's got a house in Palm Springs. So we've got Kaylee sub and tell friends. Yes, tell friends, and also please invest. Right now we've only had Kook Snipe invest tonight. We've got 61 watching. Love to have you as an investors. You get shares. That's not a donation. You actually get shares that if Zenny62 Media is purchased, you will get what you spent. And if it's depending on the buy, you'll get more, of that, right? So there you go. Now, if I find the secondary sales market for the shares, then you can trade your shares on it. I still haven't located the right one yet. That's affordable. But they're out there. So, Aaron Blaylock says, oh, excuse me, I skipped missing something. King Jose says, honestly, I don't like Kyrie anymore after all he's doing. You don't like Kyrie because he's getting all LeBron's shadow, right? Isn't that the issue? Come on, King, tell us. So, Henry Flores says, Zenville. Kaylee Lett says, look for Abby Smith and Katie Smith. We'll comment and sub, thank you. And Aaron Blaylock says, Neil Lomax was a great Cardinals quarterback. Yes, Neil Lomax is the run and shoot. He would have been a legend if he went to a better team. And ran the run and shoot that he ran at Portland State, I quite agree. Hey, Let's says, and Abby and Katie are my sisters. Does that count? Yes. Kevin KD says, so does this mean that Mark Davis would have preferred LA over Las Vegas? Yes. John Mark says, I remember that, especially now, because you don't have the infrastructure problems down there that you have in Las Vegas and unincorporated Clark County. So, as Crawford says, LA was his first touch. Kevin KD says, no, actually it's LeBron who is causing all the drama, MJ, LBJ. Daniel Dillon, when the Raiders didn't get Vegas was given to him immediately. Vote was a joke. Gen Y Progressive says the only team Kyrie Irving will be successful on other than the Cavs is the Timberwolves. And Octavio Arias says, I know why Mark Davis hates Oakland. Have you seen his box during games? Yeah, I have. And he says, just a bunch of old-timers sitting next to him. He wants to have showgirls in his booth. Oh, I don't think so, Octavio. I know Mark is, I don't understand why people so want to be nasty about Mark Davis. I don't. I like Mark. And Mark just wants to be a regular guy, okay? Thank you for the investment, Mr. Schneider. Mark just wants to be a regular guy. And he wants to enjoy it with people that he knows. I'm going to tell you something. And I've said it before, but I'll say it again. There are two types of friends in this world. There are people you want to be your friends, and the people who are your friends. And the number one lesson in life, one of the most important lessons in life, not number one of the most important, is to learn the difference. Okay? Learn the difference. You might want this particular person as a friend because maybe they dress a certain way, or you think they have money, or sadly they have a certain color. All right. You may, but then this person who's your real friend may dress in a way you don't like, and maybe doesn't have the image you like, but when you need something, they're there for you and they're your friend. That's the person you stick with. It takes a lot of people their entire lives to learn that difference. It really does. Okay. And maybe it could be said that Mark Davis is learning that lesson in a bigger sense with Las Vegas. Las Vegas represents the friend he wants. Oakland represents the friend that is true. So there's a difference. Okay? There's a difference. So, and Crawford says, St. Louis is a great Midwestern sports city along with Chicago and Detroit. And King Jose says, Kevin KD, let me just say it straight for you. LeBron over Jordan. Oh, here. Oh, yeah. Welcome back, King Jose. It's so great to have you. Kevin KD says, what you said about friends is on point. Thank you. And Kevin KD says, sadly, many people don't appreciate that kind of sincerity until it's too late. That's right. Katie Smith says, my sister Kaylee Lett sent me here. I subbed and liked. You're 11 years old and from Alaska? And says that I'm the best and she's never going to unsubscribe. Oh, that's so sweet. Thank you so very much. Thank you very much, and welcome. Welcome very much. And so we have a great set of teenagers. We have Katie Smith. We have Jacob P. who's 15. Go Warriors is 17. He left, you know. So, I mean, this is a great cross-section. We've got Barry Lee who's 48. You know, I'm double nickel. We've got Steve Collins who's 60. We've got a whole gigantic, I mean, cross-section of people and cultures, and this is cool. You know, Octavio Arias is down there in Panama. Yeah, I'm here in Georgia. You know, we got them all over the place. Got anybody in London, Germany? And thank you, Katie. Thank you very much. So, Katie Smith says, hey, got that one. Octavio Arias says, his booth is always empty. He seems so alone. Well, maybe, I don't know. I don't think that's the case because I know a number of people that go in and out of his booth. You know, JDT the Brick, for example. And Rick Rice says, Katie and Kaylee go Warriors. Jen Y Progressive says, if Kyrie Irving wants to join the Miami Heat, like he said, he should ask Russell Westbrook what it's like to carry a team. Ooh. Joseph Jones says, I stopped at 30 Zinni, laugh out loud. I'm not sure what that means, but anyway, okay. But if it means invest, if that's what you mean, you can always put a buck in there. So, ML Scott says, laugh out loud. Joseph Jones, I'm 25 and holding. Oh, you stopped at 30 in years. I get it. Okay, I get it. I thought you meant dollars. I don't remember him investing. You know, okay, anyway. That's hilarious. So, Daniel Dillon says, Mark chasing fake friends in the desert. Rick Rice says, Mitch Trubisky is better than Deshaun Watson. Hey, wait. I missed the Bears game. Was that tonight? The Bears and the Broncos? That was tonight? So you're telling me that Mitch Trubisky sold out? You know, I'm asking you. I can check the doggone computer, right? But that's what you're telling me, Rick Rice, right? Hold on a second. Oh, is that what you're telling me? Oh, man. Wait a minute. Let me go. Hey, by the way, invest in Zinni 62. He completed his first 12 passes? Oh, uh-oh. Whoa, wait a minute. Let me go to the trusty NFL.com. And NFL.com. There. All right. You know, I think one motivating factor from what Mark Davis is doing, what he's doing, is the lack of respect that he gets. And you know, you've got to believe that when people make fun of him, he knows it and he feels it, and that's why I basically fight for him. I know it doesn't seem like I do, but I like him. I don't like the Vegas deal, but I like Las Vegas. I like Mark Davis. I like Oakland. I feel the government could have done a lot better, but the Raiders could have done a lot better by Oakland government. That's how I feel. But I really enjoy the conversations I've been able to have with Mark Davis. Brief for the most part, but I enjoy them. Okay. Does he think I'm a know-it-all? Of course he does. But then sometimes I am. So what? That's where it comes from. Whatever. All right. So we've got the Cleveland Browns, Kaiser's King, Deshaun Kaiser. Uh-oh. It says Deshaun Kaiser may have just zoomed to the top of the Browns quarterback race in a win over the Saints. And we got Kaiser's game stats here. New England, the final is Cleveland 20, New Orleans 14. Hey, I ought to do you know what? Sunday, we'll do a recap of all the NFL games, okay? From all the way up. That'll be our Sunday thing. And I'll try to get a special guest. We've got, so you don't have to hear me all the time. But you mentioned Mitch Trubisky. Denver won that game 24-17. Of course, it's preseason. I'm aware of that. But Denver started off 10-0 the first quarter. Chicago came back. Let me see what's happening here. Passing. Mitchell Trubisky was 18 of 25, 168, 1 touchdown. Okay, numerically he was only slightly better than Watson, not entirely. Passing, we had Stoker 5 for 6. Paxton Lynch didn't play the game. So this was a kind of a wash game for the Broncos, right? They didn't do much. But Mitch Trubisky looked good in the pocket. Ooh, I see this one. I can't show you these, okay? But you're saying he completed his first 12 passes, and I'm looking at the video, and wow, he's got Mitch Trubisky, the real deal. I can see that in 2 plays right off the bat. His dropbacks were crisp, his throws were accurate, and I got to interview him. In fact, since you said that about Mitchell Trubisky, right? I'm going to put that over there. Go back here. And Rick Rice says Osweiler got yanked. Wow. He did. Ooh. And John Mark says, oh, John, thank you very much, man. I thank you. Hey, by the way, Godfather Grizz, I encourage everyone, invest, please. I don't care if it's $2, $1 I appreciate, which I got. Hey. So Rick Rice said he had 1 touchdown, but should have been 2. But the Wi-Fi, but the wide receiver didn't break the goal line. Okay. And Jacob says, yes, everyone invest. Just send a simple investment Zinni by PayPal to appreciate all his upbeat updates. Thank you very much, Jacob. I really appreciate it. And plus, today in particular, I wanted to get out of the way the questions you all were asking. It was very important to me to do the research, and I'm glad, again, I say this, I'm glad, and I thank the Clark County Planning Department and the FAA for their timely responses today. I thought I was going to have to wait a day or so. I didn't. I got great field feedback, okay? Great feedback. No, you haven't missed the party. Donis, you're here. You're here. Harry Flores says that Brock Osweiler reminds him of Mark Wilson. So Osweiler was in, we were talking about, let's see, let's go to we went to the Broncos and the Bears. And Jay Moore says he's in London. Wait a minute. He's from London and he's 11 years old and he's subbed. Thank you. Welcome aboard. Wow. So we have Kaylee and Katie who are 11, and we have James who is 11. The 11-year-olds. My God, you all got to behave now. All right. I'm not talking about the 11-year-olds. I'm talking about the adults. Okay. The adults have, oh, okay. Oh, I get it. Jonta Moore. I said, I get it. Jonta is, Jamie Moore is a girl. Gotcha, Jamie. Welcome. Okay. My point is this. All right. Y'all got to behave. But actually, we never had that problem, so fine. I've got a great filter. All right. Now, back to football. Mitchell had one really good pocket awareness. Talking about passing, he looked great. And no, you didn't miss the party. And Rick Rice says Minnick Watson missed his block on one of his first plays and got Trevor Siemian sacked for a loss of 8. That's why he's not a Raider anymore. Yeah. Jonas just got here, and Henry Flores says Hobart was a big bust. Ooh. And John Mark says Mark Wilson is a great quarterback. Laugh out loud. Now hold on a second here. Speaking of Mitchell Trubisky, I'm going to take you back in time, the Wayback Machine, and in the Wayback Machine, take you back in time, and let's see here. We've got a little bit back, because I'm going to share something with you that I wasn't going to. Actually, I'm actually equipped to share it. Yes, I am. Yes, I am. And let me kill that right there. I had this sound there for a little bit. Hey, Kung Snipe, thank you for the investment, by the way. Thank you. And Karen, how are you? Karen and Tom, we were blessed with both of your presences here tonight. And yeah, hey, I missed them too. But, you know, I'm going to turn them on and see what happens. But I want to show you something, talking about Trubisky. Hey, Rick, I saw 2 plays with Trubisky. You're right. He's the real deal. And I have to say, I'm happy to be wrong about him. Completely happy to be wrong about him. But yeah, he looked like a person who could step in and start right now, even though the Bears and John Marks kept saying, we're going to leave him on the bench. Okay, after a game like that, people are going to want him to start. Now, Mitchell. Okay, speaking of Mitchell Trubisky, I have something else that you can only get here at Zinny62 right here on YouTube, okay? You can only get this, what you're about to see here. Only here. Stay tuned. There's 52 of you, which is a great number, okay? You can only get this here. And I promise you, you're going to love it. I'm going to skip the ad there. And you are going to really get a kick out of this. Here, hold on a second. Hold on a second, all right? Here we go, folks. Setting this. Raider Gans, you're about to see something really cool.
We're waiting for Mitchell Trubisky to come down to the interview room. He is the second pick in the NFL draft, the selection of, surprisingly, the Chicago Bears. And the Bears gave up most of their draft to bring this young man in. And, well, bad connection again. Poor connection. Let's see what happens here. We're waiting. Can you see? Can you see? Hey, I got a gift for you. I got a gift for you. And wait some more. And wait some. Thank you. So, oh, watch out! Coming through. Hey, how you doing? All right. Oh, yeah. So this way.
You're good, dude. You're good.
taking a beating. So. Ow!
Ladies and gentlemen, now joining us in the theater, Solomon Thomas, San Francisco 49ers.
Hey, how do you feel?
I feel amazing right now. I am so blessed to, be on such an amazing organization, be a 49er. Can't wait to go back to the Bay Area. I'm so happy.
Did you get a call, or did you find out about it like Mitchell, watching the television? How did you find out you were going to become a San Francisco 49er?
I got a call, the landline phone, that turned that bright red and picked it up, and dreams came true.
Who was on the other line?
It started off, it was John Lynch. Well, someone translated me to John Lynch, and then we all started going.
Cool.
Have you dealt with them a lot in the pre-draft process?
Actually not. I did not talk with them too much. Combine had an informal thing, didn't have a formal. And besides that, it was all prior to the draft. I had a class with Mr. Lynch my freshman year in college, so he was going back for his degree. Besides that, that's really it.
Hey, so it's obvious you can adapt to the game, being at 39 tackles, 10 and a half numbers at a loss. Do you think you can do that with a head coach?
Yes, ma'am, I do. I can't wait to prove it and to put it in action, but with how hard I'm going to work, how serious I'm going to take my game, and the pressure I'm going to be, I'm going to show it.
That's actually Solomon Thomas. Hold on a second. I have Mitch Trubisky here as well. Hold on a second.
I love Levi Stadium, love the Niners fans, look forward to the faithful. I'm so excited.
Let's see here. There he is. Yeah.
Internet break. Have a break. Have a Kit Kat.
It's my TV.
Just waiting. I try to keep myself busy and continue to work hard, but
It looks just like the two of us. It's like, wow, yeah. I see both of you in him.
It's great meeting people going through the same process as me and being able to sit down and talk to these coaches. It's been awesome. But
Please welcome red
I really enjoyed all my time with all the coaches I had. I learned a lot from them. There's a lot of great football minds out there in the National Football League. I can't wait to sit down and work again. Yes, sir. Appreciate it.
Hey, Mr. Trubisky, first of all, how's the process been for you?
It's been good. It's been a long, hard-working process. Put a lot of time and dedication into it. And, I'm very excited to get with the team tonight so I can go back to work and play some more football.
What are you going to miss most about college?
Definitely my best friends, my roommates, and my teammates. So they're going to be with me for life, but it's going to be a little different now.
Any feeling for where you're going to go? And also, you're a West Coast guy.
East Coast guy. I'm from.
In terms of offense,
Oh yeah.
So,
I know a lot of offenses. I got no idea what's going to go on tonight, who's going to pick me. It's a waiting game now, so I'm waiting for my name to get called, and when it does, it's going to be a dream come true.
what I like about the way you play is you're throwing. You'll recognize something and it's gone. I mean, is that practice? Is that,
Exactly. It's just repetition and preparation. So just trying to see things before they happen, anticipate it with the ball, and use my accuracy to get it to the playmakers. And that's what it's all about, making great decisions.
Good luck to you. Congratulations. Thank you. You ready for this?
Shout out to all the mothers there, especially my mother, Jean Trubisky, best mom in the world, love you.
And can we see your victory dance, your touchdown victory dance?
I don't have a victory dance.
Come on, just a little like...
Hand the ball to the ref.
Okay, got it. Thank you so much.
Happy Mother's Day.
Thank you so much.
I'm a dude, so hey, I think I'm better looking than he is. So there we go. Sorry. Hey, tell them who you're with, by the way.
Wonderama TV.
Oh, YouTube?
Pix 11.
On YouTube?
Yeah, we're on YouTube.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so am I.
You are?
Yeah.
Cool. How do you say your name?
Zenny62 on YouTube. Zenny62. Okay. What's your name?
Callie.
Callie.
Callie in the city.
Callie in the city. I like that.
All right, so that was Mitchell. Whoops, excuse me, I almost struck Mitchell Trubisky there. Let me straighten out something here because I got a little. I had this plugged in there. It's Mitchell Trubisky there.
I spent a lot of time making fun of the Browns and
there
the
was
Jets. And that,
some guy talking about making fun of the Browns and the Jags. And not only that, let me clear up something because my finger touched it, and so it's a little foggy. And hold on a second. There we go. All right. And all right. So welcome to Zenny62. Thank you. All right. Now, let's see here. It is 1:41. I will stop at 2 o'clock, I think. And let's see here. It's what's interesting is that a number of people, for example, there's one guy that's talking about how Mitchell Trubisky was a wasted pick, and I questioned it. In fact, I have a reaction here because a lot of people were really blasting the Bears for picking Mitchell Trubisky, right? I mean, just why do that? And yeah, and so the Bears traded a king's ransom for Trubisky, okay? And as Gen Y, oh yeah, YouTube does pay me. As far as Rick Rice was saying, that's free advertisement. No, that video, and Octavio is right, that video was on my channel, and that's how I make money. But it's not, it's not, that used to cover my rent last year. It's went down, and that's why I went to this area of investments. So there you go. So anyway, so Aaron Blakelock says, I saw a 1973 Monday Night Football on YouTube. Jets and Joe Namath versus the Raiders and LaMonica, and Glenn Campbell sang a great national anthem, and he wanted to have that on my last show. Oh, really? Okay. And Cutler is an elite quarterback. Really. Now, we've got, let's see. I'm trying to think of what I got Trubisky in there, okay? Oh, and Emily Lane says, what is going on? We're talking about football, and so Octavius saying I'm getting young with all the, that's funny. That is hilarious. This is a great night. So Derek Carr is an elite quarterback. All right, folks, Derek Carr now has to go out and complete his first 3 passes and throw a touchdown on Saturday. Because why? He's the highest paid quarterback in the NFL. He's got to answer the challenge that Matt Ryan set out for him when he went 3 for 3 tonight, well, technically last night, against the Miami Dolphins, who eventually won the game. But Mitch Trubisky, well, I got to go back and watch that. And then Deshaun Kaiser, and oh, it's so exciting. Football is back. Woohoo! Woohoo! Yes, football is back. And so because football is back, I can do a lot more, coverage, and I think I'm going to plan a different type of strategy. So, King Jose says, Zenny, I'll give you a better interview of my draft than the one Mitch gave you. Okay, thanks, man. I appreciate that very much. I have to go back on that live stream because it said Mitchell Trubisky. And I remember we were waiting for Mitch to come out, and somewhere along the line, I got him and I didn't get him. Something happened there. But because I know it was a lot of sitting around and waiting. And so I think Trubisky may be in another video, and I may have to retag that one. I'll figure it out, whatever. I'll figure it out. So Rick Rice says, I used to not like the preseason and really enjoy it now. Rick Rice, the difference for me now with preseason is that you don't get watered down offensive football or defensive football. For example, last night's game against the Texans against the Dolphins, the Texans against the Dolphins, excuse me, the Texans against the Carolina Panthers. I'm sorry, I was thinking about the Dolphins tonight. But the Carolina Panthers ran a number of exotic defensive approaches you normally see in a regular season game in a preseason game, including cornerback blitzes, double A gap blitzes. We saw a lot of that. They really did a great job of giving Deshaun Watson a regular season look. And yeah, I know you were talking about how well Trubisky did in his first preseason game, but now I'm thinking I want to go back. I want to see that game and look at the defense he was faced against to determine if he was being thrown the same number of exotics that Deshaun Watson saw his first time out. Because if he was and he did that well, wow. I didn't see that. They looked like base defenses to me. I didn't see where you had corner blitz and so on. But Deshaun Watson was faced with such defenses with double A gap blitzes, as I talked about, zone blitzing. Okay, all that was there. All that was there. So, and John Mark says Jim Nabors sang the national anthem at the Coliseum during the AFL days. Yeah. Rick Rice says Glennon's second play was a pick six. Was that right? The Buccaneers, right? The Bucs played tonight, right? No. Wait a second. Glennon left. The Bucs now have. They don't have Mike Glennon as a backup anymore. Mike Glennon got shipped off to. Where did Mike Glennon go? Rick Rice. Where did Mike Glennon go? My brain is went freeze. For the Bears. Mike Glennon went to the Bears, right? Yeah, they paid him all that money, and then they paid all that money to Glennon. Thank you for reminding me. They paid all that money to Glennon, and then they turned around the Bears, and they got Trubisky. Quarterback controversy. So, King Jose says, good night, Zinni. I have practice tomorrow morning. I'll try to catch the next live stream Sunday. Good night, King Jose. Hey, King Jose, remember this. Kevin Durant is better than LeBron James, and the Warriors are better than the Cavs. Strength in numbers. Go Bears. Oh, Rick Rice says Glennon's with the Bears. He got yanked and Trubisky went in. I got to see that game. Henry Flores says, Zinni, would it be possible for you to interview the Iron Sheik or possibly Ric Flair? You know what? I'm going to lay out a request. I need help booking because I can only do so much. If somebody wants to help me grow Zinni 62, and specifically book, talent to be interviewed, I really want to talk with you about that and the company and where we're going with that. I really need help in that area because it's hard for me to do it all. For example, I spent some time, plus I'm, frankly speaking, as a lot of you know, I need to earn money. So I have 115 resumes out. I'm open about talking about this. I'm trying to find clients to make up for what I lost. So between doing all that, I don't have the time to get that talent. So I need help. I am imploring on you all that I simply need help. So if one of you wants to take the time, has to take the time, wants to come in, have shares, I'm not in a position to pay you right now, but we can engineer an agreement, right? Where you do the booking. And the reason I say is I have people that I want to contact and I have ideas in my head, but there's only so much time in the day. I haven't even heard anybody say, yeah, I'll do it, or but so I'm just putting it out there, okay? I'm just putting it out there, all right? And also invest, because remember, this is Bonus says, Zinni, been following you since the Carson Project. Appreciate your efforts. First time messenger. Hey, welcome. Thank you thank you for being here very, very much. And not only that, please, if you're able to, invest via PayPal. And Nick, love to have you. And Nick, love to have you as a shareholder. If you can invest via PayPal, it'd be fantastic. Nice to have you here, by the way. Very nice to have you here. And John Marks says, what year did Mitch get drafted? No, Rick Rice is right. It was this year. I was there. That was the And he is a rookie. He's from North Carolina. Mitchell Trubisky. Mitchell, the real deal Trubisky. Yeah. Young gunslingers, boy. They can throw. King Jose says, heck no. Now I'm not going to sleep. Thanks for your delusional opinions of the Warriors and Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant is better than LeBron James. It was worth keeping you awake. Kevin Durant is worth keeping. Is better. Who's the MVP? Not LeBron. It's Kevin. It's KD. KD. Who is feted by the Chinese? Not LeBron. KD. I'm just saying, man. I'm just saying. See, the Warriors have the ring, so I have bragging rights. I gotta be careful with this. I upset him so much he couldn't go to sleep. Oh, that's hilarious. Oh my goodness. Oh, we got King Jose. Get King Jose all upset and everything. King Jose is. We have to figure out a way to get LeBron on this show. I don't know. It's 11:52. I'm going to stop at 2 o'clock. John Mark says Kevin Durant is a great basketball player. Not only that, Kevin Durant is the NBA Finals most valuable player. Did you know that, King Jose? King Jose? King Jose? Did you know that, King Jose? Just asking. King Jose? King Jose? King Jose? King Jose? King Jose? King Jose, he chimes in. King Jose says, LeBron 3 rings, Kevin Durant 1. Okay. But I'm talking about this year. Kevin Durant 1 ring, LeBron none. Kevin Durant MVP, LeBron not. Okay. Crawford says Zaza Pachulia is better than Tristan Thompson. Ooh, that's the kicker. Excuse the pun. I couldn't resist that. You know, Zaza Pachulia, that's the kicker, right? The kicker. I feel like Dr. Evil when I say that. That's the kicker. You know? So, Warriors go for 2 this year. That's right. Warriors go for 2. Warriors go for 2. Too funny. No pun intended. Excuse, I said too funny. Haha. Gen Y Progressive says, did you see the new players the Warriors added to the bench in the offseason? Yeah, like Nick Young, Shaggy P. Yeah, their bench looks better than some teams starting 5. It does. 831 Scott says LeBron is an amazing player. But when you say he's better than Jordan, that's where I draw the line. He never choked in the finals like LeBron. Now, for viewers new to this, I didn't say that. 831 Scott's talking to King Jose. King Jose is one of our regulars. He's practicing. He's attending Michigan State. Walk-on basketball star he will be. King Jose contends that LeBron James is better than Michael Jordan, to which we're like, come on. It's been a long-standing battle. King Jose is on a one-man rampage. One man. Because there's nobody else that believes what King Jose believes. We love King Jose. We're just teasing him. Sort of. Anyway, so Crawford says Swaggy P has a chance to get a ring. Rick Rice says LeBron doesn't have the clutch gene. When there's a game-winning shot, he dishes it. That's an interesting observation. What do you say, King Jose? King Jose chimes in. King Jose says, mark my words, Zinni. Cavs will win the finals this year. I don't care how they will do it, but I promise you they will. And me and my boys here at MSU, Michigan State University, will make the Final Four in March Madness. Fact. I'll root for you, man. I will root for you. For you and Tom Izzo in the game. Well, within reason. Unless it comes to where you are up against my sturdy Golden Bears. Then I have to choose Cal. Sorry. That's the way that goes. Yeah. Anyway. 1:55 a.m., folks. And Crawford37 says, Matt Barnes is a champion. Never forget that. I have not. And Crawford says, go blue, to which I say, go Bears. Go Bears. And Jim White Progressive says, never forget the Warriors blew the Cavs roster to pieces. Thank you. That's why, I think that's why King Jose is so upset. He knows that Kyrie Irving couldn't stand, you know, LeBron and his harping and all that. And he's like, you know what? I'm out of here. And that would not have happened had they won the finals. No. So, you hear that, King Jose? Damon Webb says, Cavs are up and running to win it all this year. 831 Scott says, wish you the best, King Jose 19. I would love to see you in the Final Four. And not only that, I second King Jose, I second 831 Scott's commentary on that. I would love to see you in the Final Four with MSU. But if you go up against my sturdy Golden Bear, I'll still root for you evenly. It'll be a tough thing. It'll be a tough one because you're part of the family here. And there's the Golden Bears. So yeah, I'll figure it out. I'll root for both. I'll go back and forth. There you go. All right. 1:56 a.m. All right. Ooh, and yeah, we're all wishing you the best. And Kevin KD says, I also heard that LeBron's potential departure in 2018 is one of the issues that prompted Kyrie's request for a trade. I also understood, or at least heard on the radio, that was a reason why Chauncey Billups didn't take the job of GM with the Cavaliers. So, yeah, what is your full name, King Jose? How do we keep an eye on you? Because I think you once told us your name before, and I apologize for not writing that down. But tell us what your real name is so we can, keep an eye on you. I mean, we don't know which person we're looking at. That's King Jose, right? So Damon Webb says, who think is going to Pac-12 this year, of the year? I didn't understand that one. I think do you mean who I think is going to win the Pac-12 this year? Wow. Off the top, I haven't really looked at the rosters yet to really make a determination. Let me get back to you on that one. I'd like to say Cal's got a shot, but I don't want to. But I just say that because Cal's my graduate school alma mater, right? So let me get back to you on that. 1:58. So, King Jose, what is your full name? Rick Rice says football or basketball. I think he was talking about basketball, Rick. And John Marks says, I'll be an MSU fan in B-ball. Let's see here. I don't know. Block there, I guess. I don't know about that. But let's see here. And let's see. Joey Progressive says, I heard that the Cavs wanted to trade Kyrie for the Suns before they fired Griffin. Crawford 371 says, I heard the Pistons are next in line if the Suns proposal falls apart. Ooh. Let's see here. Yeah, Bob is bye-bye. Yeah, Bob is bye-bye because Bob's acting like a boob. There you go. We don't have room for boobs. You know what I'm saying. Anyway. Oh, golly. So Rick Rice says Zach Brown had a hell of a game. He did. Raiders missed on that one. God, I gotta see that one, Rick. And yeah, 831. I know that. Well, he's gone. So, folks viewing this, you're wondering what I'm doing. I'm talking to. By now, you should figure it out. I'm talking to my live stream folks here, and we're talking about trolls and everything. Well, Bob Baran. Remember that John McCain Bob Baran? That was hilarious. So Rick Rice points out that we still have the Raiders no Mike linebacker. I think we do. I'm going to hold out for the scheme. I can't wait till the game, but I'm going to hold out and see what kind of scheme we present. See what we do this year. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be very interesting this year. It's 2 o'clock, folks. I'm going to bed. Good night. And thank you all for an incredible time. And I really would appreciate your investment. Please. Whatever you can afford. Come on, John Marks. Join the club so I can send you these special emails I'm sending everybody else. And you can bet your last money. Just don't spend your last money, but come on. Join in, everybody. Join in. Good night. And thank you all. Everybody. See you Sunday. Sunday.